Bayou Dorchey. Is that where we are?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. My name is Cheryl Renatza. My colleagues on today's parole panel, seated to my left is Mr. Prater and to my right is Mr. Tillis. It is Thursday, April 4th, 2024, and it is 10:23 a.m. We have one case there, and sir, would you introduce yourself for the record? I'm going to see Mr. Max, how you pronounce your last name.
Yes, ma'am. Kaznowitz.
Kaznowitz. And tell us your first and last name and your DOC number.
Max Kaznowitz, 740309.
And I see we have lots of staff in there with us this morning. So with the staff there at Bayou Dorchey, please introduce yourself for the record.
I'm Deputy Holloman. I'm today's audio-visual deputy, just facilitating the meeting.
I'm Lieutenant Kyle Cummins.
And I'm Jason Johnson. I'm the director of the Louisiana Sex Offender Treatment Unit.
Good to see you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Kaznowitz, I'm going to read some identifying information into the record. I'm going to, if I can get to the right page, I ask you to verify that information, and then we'll have our parole interview with you. And your case has been assigned to me, so I'll take the lead on the interview. Let me acknowledge, I think you see him on the screen, or you should be able to see him on the screen. We have your mother, Miss Anita, and your sister Susie, who are here joining us by Zoom, and they want to speak on your behalf, and we'll call on them at the appropriate time to do so.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so Mr. Kaznowitz, you're classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 7-year sentence. You were sentenced initially in January of 2019 to 7 years for indecent behavior with a juvenile. You were given probation, however, that was revoked for a new felony conviction in July of 2019 for possession of methamphetamines. You have a parole eligibility date, which was March the 16th of this year. You don't earn good time, and you have a full term date, which is December 15th of 2025. Is that all sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Before I get started, I want to ask you some questions related to substance abuse. Were you using heroin, painkillers, or other opiates before your incarceration?
Yes, ma'am.
What was your drug of choice?
Heroin.
Did your substance use contribute to your incarceration?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you have a sobriety or relapse prevention plan in place for whenever you get out of jail?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll ask you about that. Okay, let's see. So, how long you been in jail?
5 years and 4 months.
So almost 5.5 years of your 7-year sentence.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you are classified as a second offender. So the first offense was the sex offense.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, according to the record, you were about 30 years old at the time of that offense.
Yes, ma'am.
And how old was the victim?
I think she was 14.
And we got a letter from you that claims you were on drugs due to an ankle injury.
Yes, ma'am. I just had my ankle reconstructed. I was ran over by a car. So I was on Dilaudid at the time.
You were drinking?
That also.
This was the day you had gone fishing?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in your letter, you claim you only touched her in one area, but the record doesn't confirm your story.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Her story don't match, but maybe you don't remember because you were loaded.
Yes, ma'am.
It,
Ma'am.
that'd be it.
I mean, I might have. I really don't recall most of the day, but I do.
All right.
I do know that I did.
That's all I need. And then, one day after you were sentenced for the sex offense, I think you were arrested for violation of a protective order.
That was actually during court.
And so what happened there?
I asked the mother why they were trying to ruin my life.
And you were to have
Grandmother.
contact with the victim or her family.
Yes, it was the grandmother, not the mother. It was the grandmother at court.
And what would make you do that?
I was just upset at the time. I don't know why. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just really upset. A lot of it had to do with the probation office. They were telling me that they were pushing it and all sorts of stuff, and they wanted to give me parole, but then, I mean, probation, but then she kept pushing for it to put me in jail, and that's why I asked her why she was trying to ruin my life.
Well, you did get probation, didn't you?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
got a 7-year sentence. It was suspended and you were placed on 3 years active supervised probation with special conditions.
Yes,
And one
ma'am.
of those conditions was probably the protective order.
Yes, ma'am, I guess. I didn't know, honestly, that.
Listen, I
Yes,
didn't,
ma'am.
I'm
Yes,
just stating the facts right now. So you have multiple arrests in your record, 2004, 2005, again, 2010, that would indicate a substance abuse problem, driving under the influence for those
Yes, ma'am.
arrests. And in 2018, there was drug paraphernalia. And you know, when I look at your record, we get some pretty extensive information as we prepare for these cases. And as I look at the record, I see where while there at Bayou Dorcheat, you did complete part of the sex offender treatment program.
Yes, ma'am.
And so phase 1 and 2, I think it's called,
Yes, ma'am.
you didn't finish that program. Why is that?
They needed me to work at the auto shop. It was an institutional need, I guess, is how they worded it.
Okay, and so what did you get out of the first 2 phases?
I did the risk factors. I learned about just not putting myself in certain situations that I put myself in. The drugs, the drinking, the denial. I shouldn't deny the things. I shouldn't blame everybody else and everything. I needed a lot of that.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because just from our conversation this morning, it seems like you're putting some blame elsewhere also. So I noticed, I mentioned the driving under the influence arrest. You and I have talked about your substance abuse after your ankle injury and surgery and what have you. Have you ever had any substance abuse treatment?
No, I was gonna take one here, but they had put me at the auto shop because of the.
Yeah, okay, into to the job. All right, well, I want you to know, I guess they really need you because we do have quite a few letters in our record from the folks in the automotive shop and the operations division. I think we got one recently too from Lieutenant Cummings there. Sergeant Carter from the sheriff, Sheriff Parker from Major Reynolds, and Captain Tucker all speak very highly of you and your work.
Yes, ma'am.
You must be good at what you do.
I try my best at it.
So let me just tell you what I'm thinking, Mr. Kaznowitz. I think you need to finish the sex offender program and substance abuse treatment.
That's fine. I agree with that also.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Okay, that's all the questions I have. I don't know, my colleagues have any questions?
Tell me about the day that you showed up at probation and parole and you were on meth and you had meth in your car.
Okay, it was I got sentenced the following day. The next day after I got sentenced, I went to the probation office and I was telling, I know this sounds bad, but I was telling myself I'm gonna get high one more time before I go on probation because I know I would have to be, done with everything. And I did too much, I guess, and they saw that I was high, so they asked to search my car. They went in my car and they found a little piece of meth about, it was just a little piece, but it was actually, this might sound crazy also, but this was one of the best things that could have happened to me. If it wasn't for this, I'd have never learned about the situation. I'd have never learned that my self-worth. I would have never learned that I could do it without being on drugs. So.
Good to hear you say that.
No questions.
All right, let's see, we have, we'll hear from your family. We do have the victim has dialed in, Ms. Haley, and we'll hear from her at the appropriate time. But first, we'd like to hear from your mother, Miss Anita. Miss Anita, we did get your letter and we know how proud you are. You indicated very eloquently how proud you are of his accomplishments. So what else would you like us to know this morning?
I had not seen Max happy since he was a child, but now I see him as he even smiles. So he has made dramatic changes. He's had great role models while being incarcerated at every stop of the way. And he wouldn't be who he is if he weren't in there. I have a new place that I bought a piece of property and a trailer on, and we're ready to see him home and enjoy his life. He has plans which he had never had before in his life. He now has plans for his future. He has a brand new profession, having learned there while there, and it's with the police cars and how to set the lights up. And now in the automotive shop, he's really flourished. And it's a tremendous change. And he's my rock. And he's a positive person. So he's kept me going through all of this. And the change from the first day to the last day, he's never been angry or upset, honestly, that he's shown me. But now I see that he's pretty much happy and positive and planning to the future with me and Susie.
All right,
Thank-
thank you. Susie, would you like to say some words?
Just to add to what she said, I feel like sorry, I didn't realize this would be so hard. I feel like there's two different kinds of people when they're incarcerated. There are the ones that are angry and show a lot of resentment and never own up to what they did. And then there's ones like Max, sorry, who have taken this and made a positive out of it. He's grown tremendously. You know, he's become the man that we always knew he could be. You know, I know he had a terrible past, and that is a lot to do with drugs and alcohol. And we're 100% committed to giving him and having him earn the support and all the resources that he can to continue on this positive path and be, you know, a positive citizen for Louisiana. So. And I did want to add that I work for North Shore Humane Society, which is a humane society in Covington. And when an animal gets adopted, our saying, our happy ending is that we'll never see them again. They'll have a great life and they'll move on to better things. So I did want to mention that we hope that you guys never see him again. And we appreciate your consideration and your time and considering him for parole.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you both for joining us this morning. Miss Haley, could we hear from you now, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you pronounce your last name?
Haley Wilson Vernell. Vernell
Ver-
was my father's last name. It's French.
Purnell. Okay, thank you for
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
We'd
Yes,
like to- What would you like us to know?
I would like you to know that although from what I've heard, it sounds like he is doing better, which I'm glad of. But however, I do think there's more that he can do while he's in there. Maybe take some sex offender classes and, get some more help, because you can get as much help. You can always have more help. And I do think that would be good for him to take some sex offender classes and some AA drug abuse classes. I think that would be really good, because the fact that I was 12 years old having to go to a court case and still have not even heard him admit that he did what he did is hurtful, and it has been haunting me. I had a daughter. I have a baby of my own. She's almost 3 months old. And looking at her, I see this case and I think that there's something more that can be done here. Because I mean, I get it. He's doing better. That's amazing, Your Honor. Trust me, I'm glad he's doing better, but I do want him to get some more help before he gets released. Because I have had years of counseling, years of healing from everything that he put me through. And I know it was all in one day, but the dragged on court cases, continuance after continuance, was stressful on me at 12 and 13, Your Honor.
Well, Haley, thank you so much for taking the time to dial in and speak with us this morning. It's very admirable, your remarks. Thank you so
Yes,
much
ma'am.
for joining us.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. Of course. Like I said, I do hear that he's doing better. I hear that what he said, how he's changed and he's open to no longer denying. And I'm proud that he's doing that. That does make me feel good. That makes me feel better. But I do want him to take some classes before he is released. That is one request that I do have. Because it can't all be blamed on substances and alcohol. There are classes for him to take, and I would prefer he took those just so he can get extra help.
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
understand Your Honor?
I do. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Lieutenant Cummings, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes, ma'am. So just to give you a brief history of me, third generation law enforcement, been with the sheriff's department now for 12 years, work directly with inmates. Currently over the automotive shop. Just to kind of touch on the classes that he has not taken, I will partially take the blame because he is such a benefit to our department. With that being said, I mean, being selfish, I would not like Max to see go, but from my situation, I can't speak on Max's past. I don't know Max prior to being here. But like I said, I've dealt with numerous inmates throughout my life. Max is not your common inmate. He's not your common person that you deal with. Do I feel that he's deserving? I do. Do I feel that half the department here, including Sheriff Parker, our previous Sheriff Sexton, they all feel that he's deserving of having a second chance. I can't vouch for what Miss Haley went through. Like I said, I don't know Max previous to here, but he is not your typical person. He's been in situations here to where, you know, he's with our work release storm. And unfortunately, through the prison system, there's drugs, there's everything else that he does come in direct contact with that I have personally seen it set up to where, you know, Max had the opportunity to mess up. Max has had the opportunity to screw up while he's here. And he's took every situation and knows how to steer himself away from it. So he has all the tools. He has, in my opinion, all the tools to be able to avoid those situations. And I feel like live a productive life outside of here. And also, this is the first time that I've ever stuck up for anyone. And, you know, and whatever little bit I can do to help. Like I said, he's been in situations here to where he knows. Sounds like he had a rough childhood, a rough past, and bad decision making, but I believe those times are behind him.
Good, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. And you're right, I don't think we've seen you before, so
Right.
we take to heart what you said in the letters that are contained in the record. Max,
Yes, ma'am.
you heard, I want to ask you for your statement, but I want it stated on the record clearly that you indicated to me when I asked the question that I already knew the answer to. I asked you how old was the victim, and you said 14, and you heard, and the record will reflect that she was 12 at the time.
Okay, I honestly didn't know that. I thought she was 14.
Okay. So the better answer would have been, I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
This is the opportunity for you to make a statement, if you'd like to do so before we vote.
I think a lot of it's been touched. I just want y'all to know that, you know, this was probably the best thing that did happen to me, offering me the classes and everything that I was able to accomplish and learning about my self-worth from being here. If it wasn't for this, I'd probably be 6 feet in the ground now. So y'all, the system does work for a certain few, and I believe I'm one of them.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that about 6 feet under, because I did make a note in my record that prison probably saved your life.
It did. If it wasn't for this, I know I would be, and my family would be without a brother or a son.
So I'm glad you recognize that. And so if I say to deny your parole, then Lieutenant Cummins gets to keep you working in the shop so you can train somebody else to take your place.
Yes, ma'am, that would be the situation.
Yeah, but let me tell you what I'm thinking. I'm gonna go ahead and vote because you're my case and I'll vote first. You know, I did take note in the record of the how well thought of you are there at the facility.
Yes, ma'am.
But I do believe that you need a little few more tools in your toolbox to help you be truly successful when you get out. And I've already kind of hinted at that. My vote is to grant you conditionally. I want to grant you parole conditionally based on the positive remarks by the sheriff and the facility staff. That's the sole reason for my vote. But only after you complete the rest of the sex offender class and the substance abuse treatment program. I think you can do those. I think Mr. Johnson has indicated perhaps you could do those simultaneously. So once you successfully complete those programs, you can go be released to your moms.
Okay, thank you so much.
Now, after release, this is some special conditions I want to add to your requirements. You know, you still have to comply with the contract, the sex offender contract. You
Yes,
know, you still got to do that. Whatever conditions may be recommended by the treatment program, you're to follow those recommendations for after. You're to attend 2 AA meetings a week. You're to submit to regular random alcohol testing or drug testing by your parole officer. You're to have no contact whatsoever with the victim or any member of her family. And I want you to perform 4 hours of community service work each month.
Okay.
That's my vote. I'm just one, Mr. Prater.
I concur with that, and what impacted me the most was the victim statement, victim talking. And the fact that she was willing to go along with this as long as you got some more, took some more classes and got some substance abuse help, and you definitely need that. So I'll concur.
Mr. Tillis.
I concur.
All right, we're giving you a chance, Mr. Kaznowitz. Good luck to you. And look, as your sister says, we don't want to see you again.
You won't, I promise you that.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
All right, I think, does that conclude our business at Webster? Thank y'all for accommodating. We're sign out at 10:46. Sal, tell us your name and DOC number, please.
My name is Malcolm Branch, 487-230.
And Mr. Brace, do you have any paperwork there with you? You have a parole revocation questionnaire?
Yes, ma'am. It's a parole revocation questionnaire.
Yeah, that's it. Is that your signature at the bottom of that page dated January 18th of this
Yes,
year?
ma'am.
Okay, based on that information, Mr. Branch, it's determined that you're not eligible for appointed counsel. So are you ready to proceed this morning?
I had misunderstood that question. Was that saying that I didn't need counsel or I didn't want it?
No, it says you're not eligible for.
Oh, okay.
Based on your answers to those questions, you're not eligible. You can understand the charges against you and you can speak on your own behalf. So you ready?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm going to read the allegations against you and after which you'll enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. And then Mr. Prater will be asking you some questions. Your case has been assigned to him. When we finish our questions, if you'd like to make a closing statement, you'll be allowed to do so before we vote. All right, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Mr. Branch, you're accused of violating the conditions of your parole, and it specifically says it's condition number 4. And it states you were arrested on June 20th, 2023 for resisting an officer and on a failure to appear warrant for a distribution of Schedule 1. You also were arrested on April 3rd, 2022 for domestic abuse battery and domestic abuse battery strangulation. On January 4th, 2024, the domestic abuse battery strangulation charge was dismissed and you pled guilty to count 2, simple battery, and you were sentenced to time served. So how do you plead to violation condition number 4?
I plead guilty, ma'am.
Okay, and then condition number 10, you're currently in arrears $1,197 on your parole supervision fees. How do you plead to that violation?
I plead guilty, ma'am.
Okay. So would you answer Mr. Prater's questions?
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Branch, I had a couple of questions. One is that you were charged with domestic violence strangulation, and then that was just felony, and then you pled to a simple battery, which is a misdemeanor. The strangulation, there were marks on the lady's neck and on her face, and her sister said that it happened also. And I'm just curious, did it happen or not? Tell me about that incident.
No, so they was into an altercation and they was arguing, so I had went and sat in the living room. And I guess my friend, she felt like I was taking her sister's side and she told me to get out, so I just left. I don't know what she told the people, but I know she had went to the courtroom and signed an affidavit saying that she was lying. So I don't know. I had just left.
Okay, but why do you think that she would have told the police? Why do you think the sister would have told the police the same thing she told the police, and that you did it all? You think they called the police on each other or something, and then since you weren't there, they changed your mind?
Oh no, sir. It was just I wasn't there, so I don't know what transpired. I just know that she had went to sign the affidavits when I went to jail, saying that she was lying.
Okay. In May of 23, you called your probation officer to check on the status of the warrant while you were out. You called to check on it, and your probation officer your parole officer told you, yes, you did have a warrant on you. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then when they finally arrested you in June, several weeks later, you were charged with resisting in addition to what the warrant said. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the resisting. Tell me about the resisting.
Okay. Okay, the resistance, sir. I've been for the last couple of years, I've been trying to get my name right. And the reason he gave me a resisting arrest because I gave him a Louisiana ID with my real identification, which is Malcolm John Ross, and that was the reason for the resisting arrest. Since I've been in jail, I've been going through the courtroom trying to get my name back right because I can't support my family under Branch because I can't get an ID. And anytime I get a job, I have to get paid like under the table, sir. And that was my whole mission. I was trying to get my name back right. So I had Louisiana ID, that's which is still in my property. That was the reason for him giving me a resisting arrest. So I don't know.
What's your real name?
Malcolm John Ross.
So you're not Malcolm Branch.
No, sir, that's not my government name. No, sir. I've been incarcerated under that name. I've been trying to get it right for the last couple of years, but I was still on parole.
Why didn't you turn yourself in when your parole officer says you got a warrant for you? Why come find you?
I had a lot going on, sir. I ain't gonna lie. I had a lot of family issues. I had my first son's mom had passed on a car wreck, so I ain't know how to handle it.
Okay, because I noticed we didn't make a big deal out of that, but I picked up on that seemed like if you was trying to do right, you'd have turned yourself on in. Did you ever get arrested for possession of marijuana while you were out on parole?
On this time, yes, sir.
Okay, that's also a violation of number 4, but I noticed that wasn't included in some of the stuff. That kind of went under the radar. We didn't really talk about that a lot, but so that's another problem, but do you know anybody in California?
Yes, sir.
Did you go to California while you were on parole?
No, sir.
You never did.
No, sir.
And I saw you look away there a little bit. You didn't go out there and talk to a detective didn't talk to you out there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you did go and so you absconded and that's a violation of something. And so, I seem like you have problem with rules and problem with, okay, that's all I need. Thank you.
Shells, any questions?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Branch or Mr. Ross, I don't have any other questions. Anything you want to, say to us?
Ma'am, I'm just asking for another chance, ma'am. It's just, I've been going through a lot since I've been out of jail, a lot of deaths to my family. My daughter's pregnant, already a grandfather, and I'm incarcerated. I can't help. I just been going through a lot, that's all.
I understand that. We all do. That's just part of life. I think we're prepared to vote, Mr. Crater.
Deny.
I concur.
So my vote also is to revoke. Mr. Branch, you pled guilty to violating conditions number 4 and number 10. And you admitted to, that you lied to Mr. Prater. So today, sir, your parole is being revoked.
So excuse me, man, do I get credit for me being on the street or no?
I don't do time. I can't give you that answer, but, you'll get a new master prison record. So we're gonna sign off at 10:12 from Washita.
See, I told him by my real name. He ain't